Henipola Gunratana Nayaka Mahatera, Venerable Sirs, dear Samaneras Upasikas, dear devotees. Today we are blessed to have Bhante here. Bhante is not a stranger to us. Bhante was our resident monks, I think many years ago. And today we are very happy that Bhante came to visit us. Actually, Bhante here in Singapore to have some break and taking a rest. But he decided to pay visit us. At the same time, we took that opportunity to have a short Dhamma sharing with the Bhante to our novitiate program participants, to our devotees as well. And I think I don't have to speak much to explain and introduce Bhante. It should be other way around. Bhante should introduce me. And further delay, I would like to invite Bhante Ji to share his wisdom and Dhamma knowledge with our devotees. Bhante.
Good morning, everybody. Venerable Sri Dhamma and Venerable Padma Shri and dear friends. Yes, I am also very happy to see you all today. I have, when I came to Malaysia, I heard, especially when I came to Nalanda in Malaysia, just a couple of days ago, I heard that you all are having this very special program. And it is my privilege to have been able to see you all and spend few minutes with you. You are observing precepts for a short period of time is very admirable, especially at your age. Young people, instead of spending their time merely enjoying at computers, TV sets, and various recreational places, you all came here to spend this short time observing very important noble principles, observing precepts. Friends, when we look around all over the world, we can see a great deal of material success. Big highways, skyscrapers, computers, technology, education, countless material things are there to improve our material life. At the same time, people's ethics, moral, and behavior is deteriorating. People receive good educations, from universities, and they get involved in all kind of business, and materially some of them become even successful, and at the same time their morality goes down the drain. When they are not morally disciplined, no matter how much material education people receive, they cannot be peaceful and happy. I tell you a very simple, like kindergarten type story. The story in itself is very simple, but the message we get from the story is very profound. This is not a Buddhist story, but it is a sort of a folk tale. I don't know the source where I got it, but I got the story. There was a deity who had a secret of happiness. He did not want everybody to know the secret, because it is a secret. So he wanted to hide the secret somewhere. He thought of hiding it at the deepest place in the ocean. Then he thought, well, these human beings are very curious. They are very inquisitive. They always do search and research. You all do research. So this deity thought the deepest place in the ocean is not safe place from human beings. The secret will no longer be a secret. Then he thought of hiding it on the top of Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. Then again he thought, if he hid it there, one day a human being might find it out. Then it will no longer be a secret. Then he thought of hiding it in a deepest cave, in a deepest big forest, like Amazon. Then he thought even that may not be a safe place. Human being may find it. Then after very long time thinking, he decided to hide it in a place where people never look for. They will never look at that place. You know where that place is? He thought of hiding it in human mind. That is where we don't look at for the secret of happiness. This is very, in a way, well-known story. Most of you already know the story, and I retold it. Now, friends, coming to the profundity of the secret. All these material things, our education, huge buildings, expensive cars, fastest computers, iPads, iPhones, what not. All these do not bring us happiness. They make us more unhappy, more miserable. The world is now full of psychiatrists, psychiatric hospitals, psychoanalysts, psychotherapists, psychologists, and so on. Why? If all these material things could bring happiness, what these psychologists, psychiatrists, psychotherapists, psychiatric hospitals got to do with our life? These are the signs and symbols and indication of how much suffering, unhappiness, stress, pain, miserable we have. Why? We have not learned, are not learning to look at the very root of where happiness is. There is a very beautiful Pali. I use Pali sometimes for my own pleasure. Perhaps you may not use Pali, may not even understand. But for my own pleasure I use Pali. In Pali, this word you all know, you use when you pay respect to the Dhamma. You say, Ehi Passiko. Have you heard the word Ehi Passiko? Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sandittuko Akaliko Ehi Passiko. What is Ehi Passiko mean? What does it mean? It means come and see. Ehi Passiko means come and see. Come and see is an invitation. Who sent this invitation? When you receive an invitation, you ask these three questions. Question number one, you ask, who sent this invitation? Question number two, where to go? Because it says come and see, where to go? Number three, to see what? These are the three questions you must ask when you receive this invitation. Come and see. Who sent the invitation? Where to go? To see what? You get the answer, three answers. To the first question, who sent the invitation? Nobody. People say, Buddha sent the invitation. Buddha did not send invitation to anybody. So Buddha did not send invitation. Then who sent? Nobody. To go where? Then the answer is nowhere. The third answer, to see what? To see nothing. Does this invitation make any sense? Apparently not. But this invitation makes a whole lot of sense. Come and see is the invitation comes from our own mind. Our own mind. We must ask ourselves to come within ourselves. We are trying to do things outside. We criticize people outside. We look at their faces outside. We think of what they think in their mind. How many times have we asked ourselves to come inside and see what is going on in our mind? This is called in Pali Yoniso Manasikara, translated into English, mindful reflection. There is a kind of reflection, unmindful reflection and mindful reflection. Mindful reflection is looking at ourselves impartially, without bias, to see what actually is going on in our mind. Buddha gave very beautiful simile to illustrate this. Mindful reflection and unmindful reflection. Keep this simile in mind. Are you listening? Are you listening or looking at each other? Or are you mindfully reflecting or unmindfully reflecting? This is the simile. You must remember the simile. Then you will never forget what mindful reflection is, what unmindful reflection is. Suppose you have a dog. You throw a stick, a ball or frisbee to a dog. Do you know what the dog would do? Dog will run after the stick, the ball or the frisbee. Then either he bites it or brings it back to you. Right? Suppose you throw a stick, a ball or a frisbee to a lion, what does the lion do? Lion will not run after the stick or the ball or the frisbee. Lion will run after you. Lion wants to find out where it came from and go to the root and destroy the root. Lion behaves like a lion. Dog behaves like a dog. No matter how much you love dog, you may kiss the dog, hug the dog, sleep with the dog and keep the dog on your lap. As soon as you let the dog go out, where does it go? Where does it go? It goes to a dirty place and sniff dirt. You can never change dog's behavior. Can you make a dog a lion? No. Similarly, unmindful reflection, the one who does unmindful reflection always thinks about other people. How other people eat, what other people wear, how they think, where they go, what do they do. That's the dog's behavior. They always sniff the dirty things. That is unmindful reflection. Mindful reflection always thinks, how do I behave? How should I behave? What do I think? What I think is wholesome or unwholesome? I don't think what you think of wholesome or unwholesome. I think, go to my mind, come and see, ehi pansiko, come and see whether I think wholesome thoughts or unwholesome thoughts. Whether I have greed, hatred or delusion. If I have greed, hatred and delusion, is it for my own benefit or the benefit of others or benefit for both? Can you see any hate in you benefit others or benefit both? No. When you come and see, calm and see inside. Whenever anger arises, hate arises in your mind, are you comfortable, happy, peaceful? No. So why should then I cultivate it? If it does not make me happy, peaceful, comfortable. If I don't have hate, am I peaceful, happy, comfortable? Yes. So that is what I should cultivate. So, friends, it is very easy for young people to train their mind in this way, in a most wholesome, meaningful way. That is why you all go to school to learn when you are young, because you can mold your life. The entire life is ahead of you. So, similarly, when you learn discipline, morality as young people, you can incorporate that into your life and live happy and peaceful life. And that is why I say, you are very fortunate to have been able to participate in something like this, becoming novices and becoming precept observers. I think these young ladies are observing 8 precepts, 10 precepts, and these other young monks are observing 10 precepts also. Why do we want to observe the precepts? This is a very good discipline. Although you are not observing the precepts for too long, for how long? 10 days. If you observe these 10 precepts for 10 days, very honestly, diligently, mindfully, you will see how beneficial these precepts are. Every one of them people say you observe the precepts to gain merits. Merit is called punya in Pali. Buddha said when one does something meritorious, one should do it again and again. Punyanche purusho kairathenam punapunang tammi chandang kairatha sukho punyasa uccayo. When you do something meritorious once, do it again and again. Why? Accumulation of merits brings happiness. Buddha said, punya is another name for happiness. Punyanche bhikkhave sukhasa adhivachanam. Merit is another name for happiness. Everybody in life is promoted depending on merits, right? We all are promoted in our school, in our jobs, because of our merits. We get promoted in our peace and happiness when we have spiritual merits. When you pass examination in ordinary way, secular examinations, you get promoted in your jobs. Similarly, when we accumulate spiritual merits by observing precepts, we get promoted in our peace and happiness. And that is why the Buddha said, merit is another name for happiness. Sukhasya punyanche sambhike sukhasa adhivachanam. Now, I'm not going to teach you Pali, but I use these words in order to authenticate and substantiate what I say. I'm not saying something fabricated by myself. These are the things that Buddha himself has taught us. There is another Pali word, it's called kusala. You have heard the word kusala. One Pali word is punya, another Pali word is called kusala. What is the difference between these two? Kusala means skill. Punya means happiness. When you do something to make yourself happy, observing precepts, sharing your things, what we call dana, practicing meditation, doing service to others, helping others, living in a very gentle, kind way, all these are meritorious deeds. They accumulate to being merits. When you do all this, observing precepts, giving dana, practicing meditation and so on, sometimes in spite of your good intention, sometimes there can be some unwholesome mental state sneaking into the wholesome mental state. When you want to observe precept, say for instance, as you are doing now, a thought may arise even without your intention. Thought may arise in your mind that you want to be very proud of observing precepts. Others are not observing precept, you observe precept, therefore you feel little proud. Having pride is not something wholesome. So, when pride arises in the mind, kusala will interfere. Kusala will come and tell you, no, you should not be proud. You are doing something very wholesome. Be humble. Be honest. Simple. You are observing precepts for yourself, not to show off. There's nothing to be proud. Precepts make you humble, simple. So kusala comes and tells you that. And therefore kusala is the quality controller of punya. When you do something wholesome, if anything unwholesome comes in, kusala comes and remove that unwholesome things. So kusala is a quality controller of wholesome deeds, thoughts and words. And therefore, you are observing these precepts in order to make yourself honest, simple, humble, and gain merits to make you happy. When you are humble, you feel happy. When you are honest, you feel happy. When you are sincere, you feel happy. Not when you are proud, when you are arrogant. So, kusala always helps us to remove unwholesome mental states, just like mindfulness. So friends, I think I was asked to speak for 10 or 15 minutes. I exceed my time. I indulged in my thoughts and talks because I like you all. Not I like to talk. I don't like very much to talk. But I like you all for what you are doing. What we are doing is very inspiring, encouraging, meritorious. So who doesn't like it? So I like you all, and I appreciate your dedication. And I also thank Venerable Siridhamma and Venerable Pemasiri, who have taken time to continue this practice, this novitiate program. I lived in this place long before most of you were born. You were not born when I was here. How many of you were born in 1958? Maybe 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I was here in 1958 to 68. And I went to school to learn English here. Got my Cambridge qualifying test, junior Cambridge, senior Cambridge, Cambridge HSC. I did all while working here many years ago. And I love this country, these people, but my karma pushed me to the United States. So I'm living there now. I'm very happy to return, like returning to my home. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your work. You know, what you find in books depends on who writes the books. And what they express depends on how much they know, how much they think about the original meaning, etymology of words. Wherever the word kusala is used in Pali, you can see it is used in this sense, skill. In the first place, one must know etymology. Secondly, one should know textual context, contextual usage. If they don't know the context and the etymology, they can muddle it and give a meaning that can confuse people. So, as Buddha said in Kalama Sutta, don't believe in anything because it is written in scriptures. Books can be books, but they are not the truths. There may be some elements of truth in some books are very good, not all of them. And therefore, what I said is very well thought meaning. I use both textual references, contextual references, as well as etymological meaning. Not because I said it, but because that is what we find in the text as well as etymology. No. Akusala is unskillful. Unskillful thoughts, words, deeds are akusala. Wholesome thoughts, words, skillful thoughts, words, deeds are kusala. Unwholesome thoughts, words, deeds are apunya. Wholesome thoughts, words, deeds are punya. Punya means, Buddha said, another name for happiness. Another name for happiness is punya. Punya setam bhikkhave sukhasa adhivachanam. That is the Buddha's words. Kusala is skill. Because it removes the unwholesome or stain of the mind, unwholesome mental states. If we keep these two words, understand the definition of these two words in this way, you can see the relationship between these two. There are so many Pali words some people use without thinking of their real meaning. Okay.
Thank you, Bhante, and wish you all the best.